Democrats even fighting for? We see them holding press conferences, calling out Elon Musk and trying various protest tactics, but these are all largely defense tactics. They are responding to the latest act of Republican extremism. We know what Democrats are fighting against, but what are they fighting for? Well, Democrats are fighting for everyday people. Yes, right now you're seeing a lot of defense tactics, but that's expected because Republicans have a very slim majority in the House, majority in the Senate, and they control the White House. Democrats are advocating for and introducing legislation to help everyday people. So today we're going to take a look at 3 bills that Democrats have introduced in Congress and go over how they help the everyday American. Democrats are fighting to end hunger. Representative Carson, a Democrat from Indiana, has introduced legislation to help combat food deserts. He wants to give grants to states to support the operation and establishment of grocery stores in underserved areas, which are areas that have limited access to affordable, healthy foods and have high rates of hunger. Representative Carson even goes further to give priority to those that hire 2 or more individuals from the underserved community, as well as those that source their food from local urban farms or gardens. This bill not only takes direct action to combat food deserts, but it is also incentivizing the creation of economic opportunity within these communities. This bill would help millions of Americans living in food deserts to have access to more affordable, healthy foods. While the Trump administration cancels $1 billion in funding for local food purchasing for schools and food banks, making healthy foods more inaccessible, Democrats are fighting to end hunger, are creating economic opportunity, and are making more accessible, affordable, healthy foods. I mean, it is clear that Democrats are on the side of everyday people. Secondly, Democrats are fighting to protect contraception. Senator Ed Markey has introduced legislation to codify protections for contraception. In a time when Republicans like Marsha Blackburn or Supreme Court Justice like Clarence Thomas are saying Griswold v. Connecticut is unfounded, Griswold v. Connecticut is the case that established the right to privacy for married couples to access contraception. It is more important now than ever that Congress acts and puts into law these protections and safeguards women's access to contraception. Contraception isn't just a reproductive issue. Contraception has far-reaching impacts. For example, contraception allows women to be free and equal participants in society and in our economy. Women should be able to determine when they get pregnant, and contraception allows them to do just that. So by codifying these protections, it safeguards women's unfettered access to economic participation and participation in our society. And so while Republicans try to strip away those freedoms, Democrats are fighting to safeguard them. Democrats are fighting for veterans. Senator Mark Kelly has introduced legislation called the ACES Act, and this bill would direct the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine to study the prevalence and mortality of cancers among individuals who have served as active duty air crew in the armed forces. He wants the study to identify exposures associated with military occupations of the air crew, including relating to chemicals, compounds, agents, and other phenomena. If I had to guess, if a link is found between exposures and cancers in air crew, this is likely the first step needed to expand their access to healthcare. While Republican lawmakers are jeopardizing funding that would help veterans who were exposed to toxic burn pits, Democrats are fighting to expand healthcare and make sure that every veteran gets the healthcare that they need and deserve. I mean, these are just 3 of the many bills that Democrats have introduced that help everyday Americans. And these bills are in stark contrast to what Republicans are doing. Republicans are laying off veterans. Republicans are jeopardizing access to contraception, and Republicans are cutting funding to local food purchasing for schools and food banks. I mean, it is crystal clear that Republicans do not care about the everyday people. We deserve leaders who want to help others. We deserve leaders who want to combat hunger, who want to support veterans, who want to protect access to contraception. While Republicans look for cruel and inhumane ways to fund their tax breaks for their billionaire besties, Democrats are putting their heads down and working for everyday Americans. So while Democrats are in the news and making headlines about fighting back against Republican extremism, know that there are things that they are fighting for. They are fighting to advance legislation that would help everyday people like you and me.